Imagine being a young woman, taken from your home, forced into a royal palace, surrounded by strangers in danger. Now, imagine that one decision you make, one moment of courage, could save an entire people from destruction. This is the story of Queen Esther, a woman whose faith and bravery changed the course of history. Stay until the end of this video, because the lesson hidden in her story could transform the way you face your own battles today. Our story takes place in ancient Persia, around 480 BC. King Xerxes, also known as Ahasuerus, ruled over a vast empire stretching from India to Ethiopia. It was a kingdom of immense power, wealth, and pride. After his queen Vashti publicly refused his command, Xerxes began a search for a new queen. Among the many young women brought to the palace was a Jewish orphan named Esther, who was raised by her loving cousin, Mordecai. No one in the palace knew Esther's true identity, that she belonged to a people who were scattered and often despised. But Gad did, and he was about to use her in a way no one could have ever expected. Esther's beauty caught the attention of everyone around her, but it was her grace and wisdom that truly won hearts. She found favor with the royal attendants, and ultimately with the king himself. Before long, Xerxes placed the royal crown on her. The orphan became a queen. But her story was just beginning, because while Esther was adjusting to her new life in the palace, a dark and sinister plot was beginning to unfold in the corridors of power. A man named Haman, one of the king's top officials, grew obsessed with power and demanded respect from everyone. But Mordecai, Esther's cousin, refused to bow down before him, believing only God deserved such reverence. Haman's pride quickly turned into a burning hatred. He didn't just want to punish Mordecai, he wanted to annihilate his entire people. Haman went to the king and convinced him to issue a horrific decree. On a single, predetermined day, all Jews in the empire would be destroyed. Letters were sealed with the king's own ring and sent throughout the land. For the Jewish people, it seemed like the end had come. But God was already working behind the scenes. When Mordecai heard of the decree, he tore his clothes in grief and sent an urgent message to Esther. "You must go to the king and plead for your people." But Esther hesitated, and for good reason. Approaching the king without being summoned could mean instant death even for the queen. Her life was on the line. Still, Mordecai's words pierced her heart. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this? That one sentence changed everything. Esther realized her position wasn't just a privilege, it was a profound responsibility. Before making her move, Esther did something crucial. She called on all the Jews in the city to fast and pray with her for 3 days. She didn't rush into action based on her own strength. She sought God first, preparing her heart for the monumental task ahead. This period of fasting was an act of complete dependence on God. Then, dressed in her royal robes, she took a deep breath and entered the king's throne room. The king looked up and, against all odds, extended his golden scepter toward her. Esther was safe, but her mission had just begun. Instead of immediately accusing Haman, Esther acted with incredible poise and strategy. She invited the king and Haman to a private banquet, and then a second one. Her calmness, patience, and brilliant plan were clearly guided by divine wisdom. It was at this second banquet, when the timing was perfect, that Esther finally revealed the truth. "If I have found favor in your eyes, O king," she pleaded, "spare my life and the lives of my people." She then exposed Haman's wicked plot, declaring, "For we are sold I and my people to be destroyed." The king was furious. In a stunning reversal, Haman's evil plan turned back on him, and justice was swiftly served. The Jews were saved. Mordecai was honored and promoted to a high position, and the very day that was meant for their destruction became a day of celebrations, the Feast of Purim, which is still joyfully remembered by Jewish people today. But the greatest miracle wasn't just political, it was personal. God took an orphan girl, placed her in a position of power, and used her to bring about redemption for her people. Esther proved that faith isn't the absence of fear, it's acting with courage in spite of your fear. So here is my question for you. What is your for such a time as this moment? Where in your life is God asking you to step out in courage, even when you're afraid? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one of them. If Esther's story inspired you today, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs a little faith, and subscribe for more powerful Bible stories every week. Because just like Esther, you might be right where you are for such a time as this. Thanks for watching.